big fan. What a tune. A Manchester anthem, if there ever was one. I couldn't believe, I have to tell you, girl, I couldn't believe anything that good could have come out of Manchester. Because in those days, everything we played, I mean, 99.9% of what we played came out of the States. The odd 0.5% came out of London, you know, with people like Central Line and Loose Ends in the early days and that sort of stuff. But that one for me was the first time that we finally said to the States, look, we can do this as well. And that's when I knew Lisa Stansfield and the boy Devaney and so on was going to be the business. Now listen, the next time I met you, this was the strangest thing. Because obviously, you know, doing the job that I do, you know, you get PAs and so on and so forth. And I remember, I'll tell you how this happened. Steve Walsh did a gig in Manchester with Street Sounds Records at the Hacienda of all places on a Saturday afternoon of all places. My goodness, that was just ridiculous. And it's the first time he'd seen me work. And he was a bit impressed because there wasn't anybody who screams as much as I do in London. So he went back to London. They were doing some gigs down there. He booked me and I went down and did some shows in London. And unfortunately, Steve had an accident abroad, came back and died, passed away. And there was a huge, and I tell you, I was so pleased when this thing happened, a tribute to Steve Walsh at, I think it was the Hippodrome or somewhere like that in London. Can't remember exactly where it was. But there I am standing upstairs and somebody comes over to me, who I don't know from Adam, I have to say. And he says to me, you were the first person to play our records, you know.
And I remember that night.
And I said, why? Who are you? And Ian says, well, we're Lisa Stansfield and Blue Zone. And I thought, oh, and we had a chat there. And I think that was the first time I really met you officially, Sean. You know, do you get a lot of requests to do these, for want of a better word, charitable things?
Yeah, you get that all the time. It's sort of, you know, I like to do as much as I can to sort of help out.
The big ones, I know you mentioned the one in South America and the one we just had at Wembley there. I mean, how do you go about doing that? Because obviously there is an amazing amount of planning to make the whole thing work. In fact, the opening video on that one where they showed the work going into it, it was just amazing. How do you, I mean, does somebody phone you up and say, Lisa, can you do this? And then you go down and speak to them and they say, right, we want you to do this with George Michael.
Yeah, basically, you know, they sort of give you a phone call and find out if you're available and, you know, whether you want to do it. It's like the Red Hot and Blue thing, the album of like Cole Porter songs. You know, they just sort of approach you and see whether you've got time and whether you do want to do it.
Now, tell me a little bit about Dionne Warwick being in Rochdale then.
Well, we've been saying that we were going to work with her for a while. And it must be about a year now. It's all been coming together. And we saw her a lot in America when we were over there. And we just said, oh, well, why don't you come to Rochdale? We've got a studio there.
And she says, where's Rochdale?
Yeah, I mean, she had a really good time, actually. She was the most lovely person.
Yeah, she is.
And we bought her a nice Easter egg.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, she enjoyed that.
Where did you buy it? From Tesco's?
From Thornton's. Got a posh chocolate.
Posh one, eh? So listen, I mean, what's it like for you, right, to have people like that, you know, coming to Rochdale? I mean, you've effectively, along with Gracie, of course, put Rochdale on the map. But I mean, you really have put it on the map, haven't you?
I like to think so. I like to think that we've done something, you know. Yeah.
But for people of that calibre to be coming there, I mean, have you ever considered moving to London?
No.
Or to somewhere else?
No, me and Ian have always said, you know, we've got our house in Rochdale and we really want to stay there because everyone's there that we know. I think maybe one day in the near future we'll probably, you know, we might get an apartment in America or something, you know, in New York.
Yeah, just makes it cheaper to stay when you're there.
Well, you can go over whenever you want then. But no, we'll always have a base in Rochdale.
Okay, so there we are in Stockport. You at Strawberry and we're at Yellow too. And you record these jingles for us. As I said, I couldn't be there on the day. And I tell you, to say, you know, happy things happen in my life is to put it mildly, because we launched the radio station on 22nd of October with those jingles, a full set of jingles, and something like 2 weeks later, you were at #1 in this country. I mean, when I was planning this radio station over all those years, there's no way I could have hoped anything like that could happen, you know. But there it is, you are #1 just about everywhere. Tell me a little bit about All Around the World.
Well, that was sort of the big record that really made it happen in a big way. And it was number one in Britain, and then, you know, it sort of snowballed from there, really, and America was sort of the last place to catch on. It's funny, like, when I was over there, they tend to think that they're the first in everything, you know. Yeah. And they said, oh, so how does it feel, you know, to sort of be number one in the black chart and all this sort of thing? And I said, well, you know, it's happened in a lot of other places, so it's now I've sort of got used to it. Yeah. And they say, oh, really, has it been number one in other places? And I said, oh, yeah, there is sort of other places apart from America, you know.
So you were a little bit of a troublemaker, were you? Telling the Americans they are not number one in the world. Well, they are, aren't they? Now, I mean, you said yourself that you listen to a lot of stuff out of there.
Yeah.
But when this one came out, it really was it for me. You know, I mean, I mentioned that the first phase being a big thing. But when I heard this record, I thought, well, there's no turning back now for the girl. When did you know that this was it? When did you know? Was it this record?
I think it was. I think All Around the World was really our trump card, and I think we played it well.
Take a listen to this.